Activist New York State Attorney General Letitia James gathered with a bunch of other radical left-wing extremist Democrat attorneys general from Democrat states, blue states, to boast about their endless lawfare against Donald Trump, President of the United States, and when he's not President of the United States. So she probably wasn't expecting this from the crowd filled with fellow traveler Trump haters.
My question is for Tish James. Will you apologize to President Trump for wasting millions of dollars and the state of New York for a witch trial? And how does it feel to know that you will be imprisoned for mortgage fraud?
Thank you for coming. Everybody knows those allegations are baseless. They're discredited. And so we want to thank him.
Everybody doesn't know that. Nobody knows that. That's Letitia James. She found out yesterday that the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Albany, New York, formally opened a criminal investigation into allegations that she committed mortgage fraud in order to get better rates, which is, ironic considering that she actually went after President Trump, claiming that he overvalued his real estate holdings, and that's not the only irony coming from this. They don't understand irony at all. She later went on to MS-13 DNC to claim that she is the poor victim of lawfare here.
Unfortunately, I have been someone who has been targeted, but I am not fearful. I am fearless.
She's not fearful. She's fearless.
No, I think she lives in a glass house.
You think?
That's one of the things I wonder if we can look up on those mortgage forums. Like, what's the house made of?
We saw the house. It wasn't glass.
This is one of my favorite stories as a legal affairs reporter. I actually have a book coming out about lawfare. And one of the things I open up the Letitia James chapter with is quotes from 2018 and her campaign where it's, I'm going to shed a light in all of Donald Trump's dealings. And then she has, it's very rich now that she's the one that claims that she's, seeing lawfare committed against her. But I do think that when we're talking about wasting millions of dollars going after him in New York, we're still waiting for the appeals court decision, which was months ago. I mean, it's been 6 months. They thought that was going to happen like around January or so, and it did not go well for her office. I mean, that's a liberal court, and even the judges there were skeptical about what she's done.
And Emily, I got to say, it really is a glass houses kind of scenario. But she goes on MS-13 DNC with Jen Psaki, who is, when you're a Democrat, you go on network TV with Democrat administration officials posing as journalists, posing as anchor people, and they fluff you. You never get hit with a hardball. You never get hit with a hardball question. It's great to be a Democrat. You go on these networks and they want to give you a hot oil massage.
You know what? The American people are so sick of footing the bill for this Democratic fraud that the $10 million in legal fees doesn't even shock me, because we've seen how much the Democratic Party has spent on illegal immigrants. New York City spent $5 billion on feeding and housing and clothing illegal immigrants. $59 million on the luxury hotels in New York City. Clearly, their priorities are out of whack, and the American people are sick of footing the bill for those priorities.
Well, what Emily's saying is that the Democrats in Albany, New York, and the State House set aside $10 million so that she can to pay for her legal bills. And this is a person, she's being prosecuted, perhaps, by the federal government. And now they got the taxpayers paying $10 million in her legal bills. That's good to be a Democrat. And the New York Times is fine with that. And so is 60 Minutes. President Donald Trump yesterday picked former Fox News anchor and host and Judge Jeanine Pirro to serve as interim U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, where I live, the president writing on Truth Social. Jeanine is incredibly well qualified for this position and is considered one of the top district attorneys in the history of the state of New York. She's in a class by herself. Congratulations to Jeanine. Now, President Trump picked Jeanine Pirro, Judge Jeanine Pirro, after pulling the current interim U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C. Ed Martin pulled his nomination to be the full-time U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C. for not having enough support from just a very small number of Republicans in the United States Senate. But check out what happened when a typical run-of-the-mill leftist Democrat maniac walked into Martin, walked right up to him while he was being interviewed live right here on Newsmax.
And so we need to get really focused. How you doing? Oh, whoa.
You are a disgusting man.
Now, run-of-the-mill Democrat in Washington, D.C., things aren't what they used to be. And she spat out. I think she was a little angry, maybe a little deranged. It was too bad a grand piano didn't fall on her dog when she was walking away. But
well, the dog doesn't deserve that.
No, but she does. And it's kind of a Fish Called Wanda reference, I think. But that was an amazing moment. Now, he's a federal official, a federal law enforcement official. And I understand the reports are this afternoon that she's going to be arrested. And I hope sent to El Salvador to have her head shaved in prison.
Now, Chris, you do know that most movie references you make and I make, they don't work with each other here. But no, honestly, that was so insane, and it should have been enough, in my opinion, to get Ed Martin put in again as U.S. attorney just so he could be the one to prosecute her. But I think the first thing that Judge Jeanine should do is prosecute this clearly unstable
100%.
person. I wish that Trump would at least pick some of the talent from Newsmax. I understand, he's picking a lot of people from Fox. I still think Carl Higbie has an obvious role to play. One thing I do want to point out, more Democrats breaking the law in New Jersey, right next to Tish James's hood. You saw the Democratic mayor of Newark storm an ICE facility, which is so illegal. And then, funnily enough, a Democratic congressman, Bob Menendez, also stormed this, which I think he can do because he's a federal official. I just think he was looking for his father, Senator Goldbar's Bob Menendez, who is, I think, getting ready to spend time in prison. Maybe his son, the congressman, was scouting out a cell for him.
Pretty amazing stuff. So this woman walks up to a federal official, obviously a little angry. She has anger issues and a microwavable dog. And she spat on a federal official like this. And I understand that she's being charged. I don't know if she's in leg restraints and cuffs like Peter Navarro.
Oh, most likely not, right? And I don't know. We might see some of the media, blur her mugshot once we get it, since that seems to be a thing. But yeah, I would love to see Judge Jeanine go after her. And I think it's disappointing to see Ed Martin's name pulled. I would have liked to see him fight for the confirmation. But he does seem to have a place now in the DOJ. It looks like he's going to be heading up a weaponization of government task force. And I think he has a lot to work with, given the past year. Where I think he should start is looking at some of these state prosecutors, what we talked about, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg. Were they in connection with the Biden White House, the Biden DOJ? Was there any sort of federal involvement there?
Jason, the woman, what has the Democrat Party done to young women?
So I don't know that
have
woman
two young
was a
women
Democrat.
here.
I don't know what the story was behind that.
She might be a Republican?
All I can say, I didn't say she was a Republican. You're the person who thinks that people are either Democrat or Republican and there's no other parties or no other
that was a
worldviews. So I think that there
She
are
might
many
have been
other
a communist.
worldviews.
Is that what you're saying?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I would say
That's a Democrat.
I was kind of shocked somebody recognized Ed Martin on
Right.
the street.
I know.
was
I
like,
know, but-
she's really engaged.
That's
Now,
right.
Point.
did she commit a crime? Yes, and she should pay for that crime. I don't think we should pardon people who commit crimes, particularly on federal property.
Right.
But so I agree.
Like the
that
entire
she's a
Biden
criminal.
family.
Yeah, like all
example.
the people from January 6th who got away with beating up cops and taking their eyes out.
Right. Yeah, taking their eyes out, because that didn't happen either.
Yeah,
but
they absolutely took
and
the
at
guy's
the
eye out.
White House,
Look it up.
where they injured 180 cops and set the Church of the Presidents on fire and forced the evacuation of the president to the nuclear bunker. And nobody did a day in jail.